welcome back to Barely Filtered. I have on one of my very favorite guests. You might know her from her podcast, Brutally Anna, or her Instagram, maybe both. And we just keep coming back to each other because I feel like our conversations are just seamless and we seem to never run out of things to talk about.
No, I have so much more I need to say to you off camera.
Yeah, well, you can say it on camera. We say everything on this show and gets me in a lot of trouble all the time. Actually, I'm in trouble right now. Something that I said on a someone else's podcast about how my sisters and I got in a little argument before one of my other sisters' baby shower, before Olivia's baby shower. Anyway, we're all, everything is, sisters make up and, they fight and they make up. So we're all good there if anybody was curious. But we're going to just dive into some of Anna's wisdom while we have her, because I'm in a new relationship and I feel like you just have all the good advice. So I'm going to pick your brain while I have you here.
Well, congrats. I'm so excited that you're in
Thank
a
you.
new relationship and you're happy.
Yeah.
And it's not easy because dating with 2 kids and, all the emotional stuff that comes after a divorce.
Yeah, I know. I do feel like I'm kind of like, I'm out of the woods I'm never out of the woods, but I do feel like this is the first relationship that feels easy in the ways that should be easy. Like we really want to be around each other. We're really attracted to each other. And a lot of the relationship, like dating, like I wouldn't call them relationships, but a lot of the like short stints that I had with guys, like for a month, 2 months, 3 months, like the attraction wasn't necessarily there, but you're trying to force it and make it work. Do you feel like your husband, you were super attracted right off the bat?
It was an instantaneous sort of, oh, you're so much more attractive than your photos because your photos are shit. And I'm so comfortable with you.
Oh, wait. So you met him on a dating app?
I did. I met him on Bumble.
Oh, you met him on Bumble.
Yeah. And it was there's no story behind it. We just met on Bumble. Almost didn't go on the date with him because I was just tired. And I was like, I can't tell if you're going to be cute or ugly.
It's so good. It's a green flag when their pictures are bad, though.
Dude, his mom took his photos and God, I love his mom. But can
we see those photos? I wish we could just cut to those photos.
He only created a social media account so that he could go on these dating apps.
Stop.
Because prior to getting on Bumble and Hinge, he was only on Match.com. Mm-hmm. And his sister-in-law was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Somebody texted me this morning and was like, were you on Match.com? Okay, let me see.
Oh my God, is somebody using your photo as catfish?
Hey, did you used to be on Match around 2010, 2011? Of course, there's a number I don't know that I respond to. No, I was in college. Oh, okay, I had this number saved. We messaged a long time ago. Haha. I had those shoes with the toes. Guess not. Wait, I used to wear the 5-fingered Vibram toes shoes. They know this because if you scroll all the way down the bottom of my Instagram, you'll see the Vibram sneakers with like the 5. He had finger. In college, would I be on Match.com? No, it's 2010, 2011.
The fact that you responded is hilarious.
I want to be like, that's the difference. Let me see the feet. I'll remember.
That's the difference between you and me. Yeah. I'd be like, fuck off, block. I'm reporting you to the CIA.
I know, I'm so curious. I know. I need to probably stop responding to people. I get myself in a little trouble sometimes. Oh, okay. So my manager's over here just peeping up, giving unsolicited advice. She wants me to ask you about how there was some guy in my DMs who was like, I want to pull it up, but he was basically like, hey, I just want to let you know, or I just wanted to ask if you ever have any work for me, like podcast video making or anything behind the scenes, or any kind of assistant work. It would be totally free, like on me. I just really enjoy a dom subservient like dynamic. He's like, I want to be your, what did he call himself? Yeah, I want to be your sub. Yeah. I would love to be your submissive. And I was like, I sent it to Nikki, my management team. And I was like, because we're always kind of complaining about, making podcast videos and clips it can be expensive. And this guy was ready to do it for free. And it didn't sound like he was asking for any blowjobs or anything. If he gets off on helping me get shit done, by all means, like, why not? And she won't let me do it.
Girl, are you fucking out of your mind? Did you engage with him?
Yes.
You did.
I don't know. I need to find the DM.
Did you DM him back?
Let me see.
The fact that you actually sent that DM to your management, not ironically, like completely unironically, is...
Well, part of it was for laughs, but then the other part was, I think I sent it to them and then I said, I mean, ... Like what? It's not the worst offer.
Honey, there is no such thing as a free lunch. That's my advice. You want
Really? Do you think there's really no such thing? Okay.
No such thing as a free housewife or a free lunch.
Do you think he'd be coming to me for like for something more than just?
Yeah.
I don't.
Eventually it would turn into something more than what you bargained for.
You think?
Or you're going to get yourself into some weird blackmail situation or you're going to, I mean, look, I am medicated for a reason because I think of every terrible scenario that probably won't happen. But yeah, that is not...
So you don't think people can be in like dom submissive dynamics without having some kind of mental problem attached to it?
I don't know because I've never ever explored that world. So yeah. I'm willing to be, my humility says I don't know. Mm-hmm. But for me, I am not willing to be in any sort of situation like that. It's very much the kind of, it's the same argument as like, can you be a sugar daddy, sugar baby situation mm-hmm. and have it be equal mm-hmm. and have it be like not predatory in some way. And to me, I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah. I mean, I have messages from women who are like, I'm a sugar baby and I get so much out of it. And, I don't feel taken advantage of. And he pays for a lifestyle. He's paying for my education. And I'm like, on the one hand, I feel great that you're taking advantage of men who've taken advantage of women for so long. But on the other hand, I'm like, there is a transaction happening and mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's a currency mm-hmm. I'm willing to pay.
Okay.
So that's the thing. It's like, what is it worth to you? Mm-hmm. And like, what was he asking? Like what kind of, because to be a dom, he needs to be able to get off to you, right?
So he's going to be like making all of my social media assets for me for free with a boner. That's fine with me. Like, I don't know. To me, whatever. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, okay, I hear what you're saying. It's an interesting thing to explore because I feel like, in this world where everybody thinks they're so progressive and open-minded, it's like, okay, but only to a certain extent, like what you're not open-minded about how people are like sexually and emotionally like satisfied. I just know since I've been in this dating app world for a little bit now, for a couple of years, and I have friends who are single who are also on the apps. There's not like one box to check anymore. It's not just like straight or gay or bi. Now there are options of, polyamorous or I don't know. There's so many. There's a lot of like terms that I've just started learning. But my friend recently got a DM from a guy who has a girlfriend, and the two of them are looking for a third to like they're the main relationship and they're looking for a third to kind of be like, I don't know what this third would get out of it, but it's kind of somebody just to have as part of their relationship, but at a lower tier.
Right.
I don't know what that name is.
She's like a concubine. That's what I think.
I don't know what she would get out of that. I need to ask actually a little bit more about that. I might have to give her a call, phone a friend. But there was a different one too, where this guy was, he was a dom and he had a submissive girl, and the girl really wanted this guy to be taking care of her in a fatherly way, not like money wise, like yes, money wise, but also like limiting her screen time, reading her bedtime stories. But then there's also a sexual aspect to it. And she would like run his errands for him, like do his dry cleaning and things like that. And this relationship evidently, he's a surgeon in Beverly Hills, and this relationship evidently is very fulfilling for both of them. And it's legal. Like they're both adults. It's not like she's a child. I don't know.
Where is that relationship going though? Is
this a long-term forever thing? Could it be? Do you see people in their 70s in these dynamics? I don't know. I mean, look, I'm wholly uneducated on this whole kind of alternative lifestyle. But what I will say is for me, I've always been very much like a long-term thinker in terms of what I want from a relationship. And sometimes, not all the time, I have to wonder if people are engaging
in this alternative lifestyle as a defense mechanism because they can't actually get what they want from a traditional relationship. Like, because almost it feels safer because it's like, well, like we have this arrangement and we have this agreement that this is what you do, this is what I do. And I don't need to feel hurt by anything. I don't know.
I do see that. Like maybe there's a certain emotional limit, emotional unavailability that this, like either one of them is not willing to push
because
past.
What happens when you stray outside of that dom sub like character you're putting on? I don't know if it's a character or whatever. It's this day and age. It's like, I just feel like the rules are there, but real life and I don't want to say like real relationships, but traditional relationships are messy. Sometimes one person's, got the center of attention. Sometimes the other one is, and there are no rules. And I wonder if some of this is coming from a desire to control the messiness of a traditional relationship.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, maybe the situation with the guy who was in a relationship with this woman and they're looking for a third, he had been married in a monogamous relationship for a long time. And then they got divorced. And then now this situation is something that he's looking for. I think it's almost like getting like this is honestly what I think it is. I think it was the girl so the woman that he's in a relationship with is like the boss of the dynamic, and she wants him to find somebody else to have sex with so that it's not all on her. So like she's almost like outsourcing his like sexual needs so that they can have a different like less sex or something.
Okay, so I'm just going to put it out there, and maybe this is like controversial because I generally try to say, live your truth, whatever it is. But I will say, for my audience and what I preach, that just sounds like two very, very emotionally damaged people trying to compensate therapy with sex. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, to me, it's like, you were married, that didn't work out. You probably should have gone to therapy, and instead you found a dom.
Instead you found, exactly.
I don't know. And I'm willing to be wrong on that. You could come at me if you're a dom and you're super satisfied. But like, I am probably more traditional in that sense where I'm just like, I do believe in monogamy. I do believe in marrying one person and committing to them, even when shit gets hard, even when you're not attracted to them, even when there is a hot guy or girl that walks by. Like, temptation is everywhere, but that's not how you build a life with a person. And I think I watched my parents build a life together when shit was really hard and they hated each other, I'm sure. But like, at the end of the day, they stuck through it and they're great right now. And they've built something so much better than if they had sometimes turned into those hedonistic pleasures that like, that's what it feels like to me. So I'm not saying like, don't get divorced if you're in a terrible relationship. I mean, look at you. You needed to get divorced. Your fucking husband maybe he wasn't cheating on you in your definition.
Speaking of alternative
lifestyles, maybe he wasn't, technically cheating on you, but he was not super faithful and he was not super honest with you. Maybe that was the issue.
Well, here's the thing. I think that humans most of us are wired to want to be with one person for life. Like penguins, it's just like how God made us. But there's always outliers to every society. And I think I picked an outlier who was pretty upfront with me from the beginning about the fact that he's not built for monogamy. And I was just kind of like, that's not true. Like that can't be true. That's not. And it was true.
But I think that's the curiosity in you. I think that's the part of you that's like, well, what if like this could be really great? Right. What if this guy who wants to edit my videos for free only wants me to just like tell him he's a piece of shit, via text?
Oh, do you have to be mean to this?
I don't know. I think that's what it is.
You boss them around.
I think you boss them around. I think you kind of have to be like mean to them, right?
Oh. Yeah,
no, he's going to want something from you. Again, no such thing as a free editor. So like, and I think that's the part of me
I'm going to ask chat. Okay. Because we need to really see, what does the submissive get out of this? What does the submissive partner get out of a sub-dom dynamic? What does the dom get out of it either? In a healthy submissive dominant sub-dom dynamic, the submissive partner often gets just as much, if not more, out of the relationship as the dominant one. Here's what they can get out of it, emotionally, psychologically, and even physically: a deep sense of safety and trust. When the dynamic is rooted in consent and communication, the submissive can relax into the role where they feel deeply held, seen, and protected because the boundaries have been clearly defined and respected. Relief from decision-making. Some subs find peace and even pleasure in surrendering control, especially if they're highly responsible or dominant in other areas of their life. Okay, that's interesting because I have heard of that, like big CEO, really important executive type people who have a lot of responsibility wanting to be subs in another part of their life because it makes them feel
I get
held.
that, but why can't you just do that with your fucking boyfriend? Why can't you just be like, look, I replaced 25 light fixtures in my house. I can run my house without my husband. When we get to an airport and we're flying together, I don't know my head from my ass. I'm like, you take the reins, right? I'm just not responsible for my personhood right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to think about it. I think about everything else.
Right.
Like, why can't you have that in a traditional relationship?
Yeah, why
because
can't
are you afraid, like, oh, if it's not clearly defined, it's a lack of control? I don't know. Like, why do we need to?
Why can't people find these fulfilling in a traditional relationship? You guys, I asked that I don't think for myself anymore. I just ask chat literally everything. I'm like, how do I feel today, chat? She said they can. In typical traditional relationship, power imbalances still happen. They're just not openly acknowledged or negotiated. It is true when you think about it. It's like, okay, we're calling it sub-dom and making it seem like this like underground sexual thing. But like, I feel like I know plenty of sub-dom relationships that are they call themselves normal married couples.
Right. But like, you can just have an open dialogue with your partner about the power dynamics in the relationship.
And I think women do. Some women do.
No, and I do. And here's the thing. Is like, I was talking to one of my girlfriends. Yeah. And I was just like, she was like, I could never talk to my husband the way you talk to your husband because he would fucking literally leave me. And I was like, that probably means you shouldn't be with your husband. And in fact,
unless it works for her.
It doesn't. She was talking to a lawyer about getting a divorce. And I was like, you should leave him. But, you're not going to. Whatever. It's fine. It's not my call. But like, I got to a point, I remember, where when I first started dating my husband and then when we got married, I was unemployed and I was doing everything at home because he had a big career. And I was like, cool, like I will do this part. We're a partnership. Then I started working and my money is not insignificant to our lifestyle. And I was still doing everything. And I was like, you cannot fucking do this. I was like, this is not, you need to fucking learn how to turn on the dishwasher.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that thing. The clean and dirty slider thing.
Because
you got to check out her Instagram. She has this reel about. It's actually like such a clutch little piece of.
It is so great. It's from Amazon. It's just like a little thing that you buy off of Amazon.
It's a sticker.
It's like a little metal sticker that says clean or dirty. And it's just like, because we kind of pre-wash our dishes and like
sometimes they look clean when they're dirty. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I had a conversation with him because I was like, and I don't even think he was trying to do, I know he wasn't trying to do it intentionally. It's not like he was trying to take advantage of me. But I think men who are raised a certain way, he was raised with a stay-at-home mom. But yeah, she didn't work, okay? So like your dad funded everybody's life.
Right.
All right, we need my income to live this lifestyle. I'm not going to be your mom. And so it was setting a whole different expectation where it's like, if I'm going to be expected to be financially contributing to this relationship, you need to contribute to the household in a way that makes me happy.
And is he happy to do that? I feel like some men might not be.
But that's why we're married. It's because I was like, this is not okay.
Was that a decision was that something you had spoken about before you got married? Or was he kind of expecting that you were going to be a wifey, stay-at-home kind of girl?
He never wanted a stay-at-home wife. He made that very clear.
But you were a realtor who wanted to be an actress.
Yeah, but I worked, I hustled.
As a realtor.
Yeah. So it was not like he was supporting me ever. I hustled.
Your
I made
money
my
was
own money.
always part of the situation?
Yeah, but not in a very, very significant way. Like, here's the thing is that like when I moved to Connecticut, I had to leave my real estate career in New York. So for a period of time, I wasn't really working.
You were starting over.
I was starting over. So I was happy to just take on the role of a stay-at-home wifey, but I knew I wanted a career. And he wanted that for me because he knew I wanted it, right? And he was just like, I wasn't happy. Look, some men want a stay-at-home wife. They're like, I don't want to deal with a woman who wants her own career. I need somebody who's just, who's going to be
on
at
my
home.
program. I think I actually just had an epiphany that I was in a dom sub relationship. I like 100%
You were the sub.
I 100% was. I was a teacher. And that was like one of his like biggest qualms about like that how I tricked him. That he always says that I tricked him because I was a teacher when we met. And, I had teachers have summers off. They have a very like 9 to 3 kind of job, very flexible, a good situation for having kids because the kids can usually go to the school that you work at sort of thing. So that's what he signed up for. And I kind of, I changed the plan and that wasn't allowed.
But that's the thing. It's like you either grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe there was a mismatch there. Obviously, there was a
mismatch. I think maybe at the time too, I kind of was okay being a sub, but then like maybe you don't want to be a sub anymore. But I didn't know I was that. Did
you not think you wanted this kind of career when you first met him?
I really thought that I was going to be more. This is going to sound bad. So what I was just going to say is I really thought I was going to be more satisfied with just having kids and being a mom. Of course, I'm very satisfied having kids. I love being a mom, but it did not fulfill in me what I thought it would in terms of like, oh, this is my life purpose and I don't need anything else for myself.
And that's totally fine. And I think a lot of women feel like that.
Right.
And you're allowed to feel that. And I think that's the difference is that you met him when you were young enough to not realize that. Like by the time I met my husband, I was like, I'm trying to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, and we feel very similarly about children. We want one kid. We are going to be older parents, regardless of whichever way you cut it at this point. But we've always been aligned on that. The only thing that changed was that I think in his world, he was like, oh, you're going to, have this big career. You're going to make all this money. And I still can just go to work and come home and not think about anything else. I was like, no, that's not how this works.
Right.
So like that relationship changed. But I wouldn't say it's dom sub. It's just like, I think, I don't know if I could say this, but I will. I think white men, like waspy
yeah.
I'll just say I think white men have been taught that they can have it all, whereas women can't. So I think a lot of white men, because nowadays it's very hard to have just one income, right? So most women have to work unless you've got a trust fund or, some sort of, a lot of women have to work in order to support a lifestyle. But I still think that because white men have been taught, like you've got to, you can have a great career and your wife is going to take care of everything else, even though she works. I still think that's the mentality.
The even though she works thing is like, it's like society has not corrected for that part yet. It's like I get like I'm all for women equality. Women should be able to work, but we do need to figure out, okay, who's going to take care of the house and who's going to take care of the kids. And then there's this whole, this whole group of people who are like, why is my wife going to work to make money to pay for somebody else to raise our children?
Yeah, but why don't you take a step back? Why don't you fucking step up to the plate? Because your wife, A, wants to work because it's something deeply fulfilling for her. Or B, she needs to work because, like, God forbid you guys get divorced and then she hasn't worked in 15 years.
You need to be protected in that.
Exactly.
Stuff. But I also do, just from like a child psychology standpoint, like from ages 0 to about 5 or 6, kids really need their moms. Like there's a lot of data to suggest like the bonding between specifically the mom and the child shapes the way they interact with the world for the rest of their life. After 6, especially for boys, your relationship with your dad becomes a little bit more significant. So I think that there are things to factor in, and I think staying home with your kids when they're little is more important for the mom to do. But that may be my little bit more of like a conservative viewpoint.
But that's totally fine. And it's like, if that's what dynamic works for you and your husband and that makes you happy,
right,
then you should do that.
Yeah, it didn't really make me happy, but I still did it. And I think it was probably good for my kids. Like, sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit of your happiness, I think, if you want to be a parent, and because sometimes what's best for your kids might not be what makes you the happiest.
And what's not best for your career. And I think that's why Dave and I have delayed having kids, because I know once we have a kid, like all this shit that's so important to me right now, you know, dragging my ass into the city, doing this, you know, it's like, that's going to take a back seat to this child, as it should. I think it should, you know, because at the end of the day, that's my value. Like my value lies in my family, and what my job can do for them. But it's a balancing act, and that's just one more thing to have to balance.
Totally.
So I don't know. I think it's like a tough. I don't know how the fuck we got here from the dom sub conversation.
I have no idea either, and also I have Justin Bieber in the back of my mind right now, because you were talking about like white men are taught that they can just have it all, and I was we're going to totally pivot this conversation, but I was watching Justin Bieber, which I don't really understand like what's happening, because I saw that Hailey was at the Met Gala like by herself with. She had a martini. I don't know if that was part of her outfit or whatever, but anyway, she was there by herself with the martini as part of the outfit. And he posted yesterday 9 videos of him like playing golf, and all the comments are like, Justin, we're here for you. Like, please, I hope you're getting all the help that you need, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then I'm thinking back to Britney Spears when she would post the unhinged videos, and people were like, get this girl like a conservativeship, or what's that thing called?
Conservatorship.
Conservatorship. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the world is actually much more forgiving about men being unhinged and irresponsible. And they're
it's weaponized incompetence.
This is a father. Imagine if Britney Spears had a child and she was putting those unhinged, like they'd be like, somebody needs to take this baby into away from her. And
we coddle men. We coddle straight men. I don't know if the rules apply for gay men. I've never dated a gay man.
Yeah.
But I think we coddle straight men, and I see it all the fucking time. And I'm just like, you know what? None of this. It's not about being dom or sub. It's just about you fucking having more value than just what you do for a job. And then half of the time, it's like, I have these women like commenting. They're like, my husband doesn't do anything. Like, he's not even financially supporting us. He's just literally has a penis. Like, So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but I refuse to. I told my husband, I was like, the incompetence ends with you. You can learn. Okay. I know you're not good at it because you've never had to be good at it in whatever, 35 years.
Right.
But you can learn. You can truly, you might not be amazing at it. It's like somebody who's not a natural born singer is probably never going to be Aretha Franklin or Whitney Houston, but they can get better.
They can get better.
I don't need you to be a champion laundry doer. I just need you to do the laundry to the best of your fucking ability and take my sweaters out so they don't go.
Be careful what you wish for, because anytime I ask somebody who's not really a good laundry doer to do the laundry, I immediately regret it when I get things out that are like,
but you teach him. I teach him, and it's just all about saying like, I wish I didn't have to teach him, but like that's how it is, and that's how we change it. And if we have a son in the future, my dad has always said, he was like, you got to teach that boy to do things around the house because he cannot end up like your husband.
Oh no, your dad says that about your husband?
No, I mean they have a great relationship, but it's like our power went out once a couple weeks ago, and the generator guys came to get the portable generator started because we didn't have our standby one installed yet, and it's a gas generator, so it requires a little bit of finagling. You have to like pull that little cord and whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, do you want to get your husband so I can show him how to do this? I was like, I am the husband. I was like, my husband has never picked up a damn hammer in his life. All right. Let alone look at what this is.
You should have gotten him so he could learn. Right?
Well, he wasn't even fucking home. I was like, I'm home. You will teach me. And if anything goes wrong, I will be the one to call you, you know? So we should just normalize that. Like, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, she's a hardo or she's a bitch for, I'm like, no, because I've had to do literally fucking everything, It's
hard though. I feel like it's hard to shift that dynamic once you've established it, though. Do you find that, like, I don't know. I think we always kind of resort to what we were taught from our family of origin. And for me, I think it does kind of put me in like a little bit of a sub role. And like the man's decisions are like just a little bit, like have a little bit more weight. And I don't know, like I think that's what like if I'm being mentally and emotionally lazy, like that's what I kind of resort to. So I think it's like checking yourself.
Well, do you want to emulate your parents' relationship?
Yeah, I mean, No, for sure.
Okay.
Definitely not. But my mom also had a big career her whole life. So
Okay.
I don't know. It's a hard, but she was a musician. So it's a little different. I don't know. I think you do need to be constantly checking your relationship and being like, is this a dynamic that I still want to be in? And do things need to change?
I think there's two things with that. It's that like men need to grow up and learn how to do basic things that, you would learn as a woman. And I think women need to understand too. And I don't mean to say this in any derogatory way. It's like, not having to make any decisions is not a privilege.
Right.
It's a responsibility because again, no such thing as a free lunch. And really, I believe that if you are not going to fucking think about the finances in the house or whatever, you may get lucky. You may hit the jackpot and get a guy who's not going to take advantage of you, who's just going to take care of you. And like literally all you have to do is, make sure the kids are great, and it might be great, but a lot of times it doesn't work out like that. Take responsibility for your life. It's like, I don't think women should have the privilege of, I wonder how many more women would have insanely successful careers if we were not given the option to quote unquote just be a housewife. And I don't mean that in any derogatory way. I just mean that is still an acceptable option for us. And I think a lot of women, not all, but a lot of women default to that because they think it's the easier decision, and it's not. I talk to any of my girlfriends who work and mom at the same time. They're like, I had to go back to work. Yeah. Being a full-time mom is so difficult.
Yeah, no, I definitely see. I agree with you and I disagree with you. I think that it is such a hard job. And for the mom who wants to take that on by herself and do, whether it's homeschool or not homeschool, or whether you have one kid or 8 kids, I think that that's a very difficult and noble job and not for everybody. So I think that that's the easier option is you're fooling yourself. But I also think it should be an option, and I don't think it needs to be looked down upon. I do think that you're putting yourself in a vulnerable. I think there needs to be probably like something more protections put in place for women who are choosing to be stay-at-home moms, because 10, 15 years down the road, whatever, if a divorce happens and there's no proof of income on your end at all, and you don't live in a common law state, like you can get pretty screwed. And then especially going back to the workforce, you can get very screwed. But
that's what I'm trying to say, is that you can get really screwed. And I don't think it should be looked down upon, but I think you are taking a massive risk if you decide to leave your career and not work for 10 to 15 years. Because I know so many stories of like my parents' friends, like people who are 60 and they find out their husband's a philandering asshole and has been his entire life, and they get divorced, and guess what? They have to, go back to work. And how do you start over? And all of a sudden, all that money you thought your husband had, guess what? He didn't have that much money. But like, if you choose ignorance as a woman, I have no excuse for you. If you chose never to look up a bank statement, you never figured out how to invest, you just said to your husband, like, you can take that, right? I'm not going to think about that. That's on you. Like, as we are in whatever century we're in right now, like, you can be a stay-at-home wife and have a say in what happens with the money. And you should, just because, and my parents taught me this. My dad was like, just because your mom didn't work, consistently while you were growing up, those years that she wasn't working didn't mean she didn't have a say in what happened to our money, the very little we had. But he was like, I never believed that, we shouldn't discuss what we were investing or whatever, because she was a stay-at-home parent. And a lot of men still think that, like, I make the money. I decide, I know numbers. By the way, half of these fucking men don't know what they're doing with their money. I'm sorry. Like, I just like my passive investing, whatever, compared to like some men who are like finance bros. I'm like, over the last 10 years, my portfolio has done so much better than yours.
Really? Yeah. Good for you. I definitely am one of those girls who's like, don't ask, don't tell. I just never, I
don't
never
do
cared.
It.
No,
I'm yelling at you.
That's something I need to, maybe get a little bit better at.
You make your own money. You should know where it goes, and you should know how to invest it.
Right.
It's so easy
I think that is next on my list of becoming a better adult. Like that just, it's stepping stones, but I came from a family where like my mom never like asked questions about money, and it worked out, and it did work out well for her. But like,
you already got divorced once, girl. You know it can happen.
No, I know. Yeah, I definitely know. And you better believe I never knew any of that crypto passwords when we got divorced, and he's got all the crypto. But yeah, I mean, but in my mind, I was kind of like, that's his game. Let him, like, he can keep this Monopoly money, but evidently it's not Monopoly money right now.
I don't know. I don't invest in crypto. I just literally I'm not an investor. I'm not a financial
I think
professional.
crypto's going pretty well right now. I don't know.
I know, but who cares? The stablest thing to do is just to invest in a low cost S&P 500, whatever index fund.
Okay.
And that's all I've done.
You heard it here. You guys never thought you were going to get that advice on my podcast.
Do not fucking come at me, but that is literally all I've done. It's every month I take a certain percentage of what I make and I put it into this, and I haven't touched it since I started it when I was 25.
Good for you.
And I think year over year it's at 13%.
Yeah, I mean,
right
that's
now.
the trend. I think it's over time. It's only ever
gone
money.
up.
So I mean, history's the.
And I buy the dip. That's it.
Yeah.
When all that shit was going on with the tariffs, I was cool, I'm going to buy some stock right now. I don't know.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, so you still believed in it. Good for you.
Yeah. And then it went up.
My dad believes in property, investing in property.
Oh, that's very Chinese, by the way.
Really? Oh, yeah. All the Chinese own all the property in San Francisco and all the nice ones, at least.
My parents believe in a mixture of both.
Yeah.
The stock market and property.
I think that's probably good.
Yeah. It's diversification.
Diversification, of course.
I feel so bad for any of you listening to us talking about finances right now. I don't even fucking know what century we're in. Are we in the 21st or the 22nd century?
We're in the 21st century.
20.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was crossing my fingers. I got that right. Oh my God. I sometimes do have to be what year is it? 24, 25? Or I forget how old I am. Okay. Well, I guess let's pivot for a second, because I heard you when I was on your podcast talking a lot about these rules that you had with your husband. And I want to know if you still believe in the rules, and if you think everybody needs to use these rules.
No, I don't ever think everybody needs to use this. And I say this all the time with my advice. I don't think my advice is a one size fits all.
Okay.
And I don't think anybody's social media, anybody who does this, is a one size fits all. Your social media is for the people who resonate with what you say and for the people who want to live according to how I want to live.
Right.
Which is, I always knew from the time I was, I don't even want to say 18, 16, 15. Mm-hmm. I wanted a husband and I wanted to build a life with that husband. I wanted a career in...
I'm talking about sex, dating.
Sex.
I'm talking about rules to dating. Sorry, I wasn't specific enough.
No. Here's the thing. No, you don't have to follow it. We have really close friends who slept together on their first date and now they're married with 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Super happy. For me, I can't hook up without having some sort of emotional attachment. Mm-hmm. And so that was a way of protecting myself. So you got to do what feels right for you. If you as a woman are I can have casual sex without getting emotionally attached, go for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's, as long as you're being safe and you're not sleeping with a new guy all the time. And
and if you are, just get tested after.
Get tested, use protection, all that. But I agree. I think not having sex too early is just a way to protect you in case there is some kind of emotional pullback, or the guy doesn't respond in a way that you're counting on him to, because mm-hmm. then that's a disappointment. And I do think there is some psychology to when you do give it up to a guy, sometimes it can make them less interested.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that is true or isn't true. Nobody has done a blind study on it as far as I'm concerned. Actually, we should ask ChatGPT that. I'd be curious. But
yeah. Because I've heard 2 things.
Yeah, that's just sort of the patriarchy talking, or it's it is true, men feel like they've conquered you, so they move on. Right. I don't know. I don't know if I'd slept with Dave on the first date, would we be married? I have no idea, but I do
let me
know.
Ask Chat.
Yeah, ask
Okay.
Chat. Okay. But I think it has been proven that something happens to women when they have sex with a man where they feel an emotional, some sort of a chemical.
Yeah, it's the oxytocin that makes you feel more bonded. That's definitely true.
And that doesn't happen to men.
It doesn't happen to men because men release oxytocin and the bonding chemical through shared struggle and experience, right. Which is happens when you are building a life in a relationship with them. Right. So let me see what Chat has to say. Does sleeping with a man early on in a relationship make him less likely to bond with you and want to be with you in the long run? Is that a good question? Chat is now my third guest in all my episodes, I guess. It's not about when you sleep with him. It's about why. If you're sleeping with someone early on because you feel aligned, grounded, and excited about the connection, great. But if it's driven by fear of losing him, people pleasing, or hoping it will earn closeness, that's when things can get messy. Okay.
I kind of disagree with that because I have felt very connected to some of these guys that I hooked up with. You know what? I mostly kept to my rule. But there was one or two guys that I broke the rule for, and I always regretted it.
You did?
Yeah.
Because they treated you weird after, or?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And so that's when I was just like, just not for me. It might have just, again, this is all anecdotal, so it might have just been those two guys, but it never worked out well for me. I never married any of those men, but clearly it works for some women. So I think from where I was having sex with those men because I felt truly connected. One of them,
you did feel truly connected?
Yeah. One of them, I was like, he was like kind of a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way he's going to break my heart. And I'm like so attracted to you because you're such a kind person. And he was just so like different and in touch with his emotions. He turned out to be the biggest douchebag of all.
So he waited for you to sleep with him. This was like, you slept with him before 3 months or something? Or
yeah.
Before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he love bombed me. Chris has heard me tell the story a fuck ton of times.
Yeah.
But like fucking massive asshole.
Yeah.
I don't even know. And like, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone. For me, the guys that I've slept with, quote unquote, too early there ended up being a shift afterwards. Usually in there, I could perceive some kind of a shift on their end where they were kind of pulling away. That only happened, I think, with guys who it would inevitably have happened with anyway. So it's almost like a catalyst to the inevitable, helps to speed things along. And then honestly, the guys that I've been with in the long run that have worked out the best for me, including my ex-husband and my now boyfriend, like there was no waiting. So
see, so you don't have to, there's no rule.
Yeah.
It's just what rule works for you.
Right.
And what rule protects you. And for me, that was it. I was like,
but I'll tell you, if I had slept with Zach and then he pulled away, I would have been very hurt. So I wouldn't, and then I would have been like, I would have wished that I hadn't done it. So you are putting yourself in, it's a gamble. You're putting yourself in a place
life is
to be
a gamble.
hurt. Yeah.
You know, and I think you're hurt either way. But for me, like that was such an important aspect of a relationship that I wasn't willing. Like I don't like sex is better for me if I'm emotionally connected with the person. It was
for everybody.
Yeah. But, you know, I just wasn't interested in casual sex at all.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in a situationship or like friends with benefits. That was proposed a lot of times. And
really? What about sub-dom? Were you ever proposed that?
No, that I can't say I've ever. I don't think I give off the, hey, I'm open for business type of vibe. Like, I think people are just like, we're just not going to.
I don't know. Maybe it could have worked for you when you were a struggling actress. Maybe you could have used a little dom.
You know what? My pride. It's like my pride. It's the reason why I didn't text that guy back, even though he was perfect on paper. You know, I was just like, I'm
good for you, because I think a lot of women would have been like, oh, good, I'm going to show him what he turned down and show him that.
But your silence speaks louder than your words.
Totally.
He knows what he turned down. Maybe he doesn't. I don't give a shit. You know, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do I care? It's like the whole point of revenge for me. It's like people talk about how do I get revenge or whatever. The best revenge is no revenge. It's a life so well lived that you don't care what they're doing.
Yes.
You know, and I was just at a point, I was single as fuck. I wasn't even in like the best moment of my life, but I knew I just was like my pride and like I respect myself so much more.
Totally.
Than being your backup. I don't give a shit what happened. You could have chosen me and you chose her and you made your bed and you'll lie in it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's happily married now. I'm fine.
Maybe. We got to find out. We got to look him up. We're going to do that right after we get off here. Now, do you know if he's happily married? Do you follow him on Instagram?
I actually, so it's funny is because I talk about my past dating life with my husband like ad nauseum because of what I do.
Yeah.
And he knows all about my exes and everything. And this guy, he does the exact same thing my husband does for work.
Okay.
In New York City.
Okay.
And so I looked him up and I think he lives in like a townhouse in Brooklyn right now. And my guess is he lives there with a wife and kids because why the fuck would you buy a townhouse in Brooklyn?
To flex.
If you don't have, you know, a wife and kids. But he was close to 40 when I knew him. So I don't know. Maybe he found somebody right. And maybe he found somebody who made him less crazy.
Yeah.
Or who's equally crazy.
Yeah.
And they're both just rich and crazy in Brooklyn with a child who,
yeah, I don't think they're alone. I think they probably have a lot of people like that in Brooklyn and all over the world.
Whatever. He's doing fine. So I did look him up. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we could go on. There's a lot more to cover with our dating life.
I'll be back.
We'll be back to talk about more of Anna's dating life, my old dating life. And then I guess next time we talk, there'll be more to talk about with my current situation. We didn't really go into that.
Oh my God, yeah.
We'll get into that later.
It's still in its infancy.
It is still in its infancy. I don't want to say too much, but I do think that we're going to see a therapist only because I feel like it's a good idea if you plan to be serious with somebody. And I think we're going to try to get ahead of like the weird stuff that could happen with blending a family and stuff like that.
I think that's smart.
Yeah.
You've got a lot more going on than like me as a 27-year-old running around New York City just being like, love me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
you've got kids in the mix. Like, I think that's really smart. And,
so we'll talk about that next
very
time.
rational about you. But just don't respond to the Dom Sep guy.
Oh,
that's my only advice.
It's partly for my own entertainment.
No, because that's how it starts off with all women. Oh, I'm just bored and I'm having fun. And next thing you know, you're like, how the fuck did I get? Because you were bored.
And then people are like, what did you expect? You talked to a crazy person.
Get a hobby, girl. Take a basket weaving if you're bored.
My hobby.
All right.
Basket weaving sounds good too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can find you at maybe both on Instagram and all the other social media channels, whatever they are nowadays. I don't even know. There's new ones, edits and
two millennials
and all that. Yeah.
Two millennials talking about technology.
Where do you tweet these days, kids? No, I'm just kidding. And then Brutally Anna, anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.